So I had a request to demonstrate my process for writing a review on Amazon Vine after I receive a product. This is very much a stylistic preference. There's a wide range of reviewers, and there's two different schools of thought on it. Okay, one school of thought is, now that I'm a professional reviewer, I have to make sure to do this right. I have to give a lot of information. I have to include pictures and or video with each review. And some people really pour their heart and soul into it. I was definitely one of them when I first started out, and I still am when I managed to do it. That is a beautiful thing, and that is needed. Those people give a lot of information. A lot of folks really appreciate that. So that's one approach. The other approach is, well, I was picked for my reviews back before I was trying to put a whole lot of effort into them. So I can treat this like a standard review. Maybe I'll just write a few sentences, not really give a whole lot of information, just the bits that I think are super relevant. These reviews tend to not always have a picture attached, definitely no video. Both approaches are valid. There are some people that don't like reading the long reviews. There are some people that just want a couple sentences. Did you like it or not? And was there any particular thing that stood out to you? There's not any right or wrong approach. And usually over time, you kind of develop a little bit of a hybrid system. And that's what I have, where sometimes I have an item that I just want to give all the information. I am like, okay, I'm giving this 5 stars, but there's also a few little things here that are really important to know. It might not be a good fit for you because of these, but it is a good fit for me because of this. And so it's a 5-star for me. It might not be a 5-star for you, but I love it. I really get into that and I love it. I feel so good about myself when I manage to write those reviews. And then there are other times, actually I wanted to show, this is an example. Okay, this is called an inflation needle. I got this because I got a basketball for my toddler. It arrived deflated, so I was like, I need an inflation needle. And I found one on Vine, so I was like, perfect. And I used it and it worked great. What else am I gonna say about an inflation needle? It worked. No complaints. I mean, is there such a thing as like a low quality inflation needle? I don't even know if that exists. That's just not gonna be a long, extensive review. There's not a whole lot you can say about an inflation needle. I don't even know if these come in standard sizes. I think they're all just one size. I just don't have a lot to say about that. I cannot make it longer or more interesting, and I don't think there's any need to. People just want to know, okay, for this random item on the internet, is it what it says it is? Is there anything weird about it that wouldn't be obvious from the listing? That's a lot of what these reviews are, because we are the initial reviews on a product. People don't want to buy a product with no reviews on it, right? So we're the ones that are going like, okay, yeah, this product is what the seller says it is. It does work. There's nothing unexpected about it. Go ahead and go for it. That being said, let me take you through my process of reviewing a little bit more complex of an item than an inflation needle. Okay, so here we have a child safety lock on a refrigerator. My process for reviewing this begins with, does it feel cheap or flimsy, or does it feel sturdy? Then I install it, and as I install it, I am mentally noting, is it easy to install? Are the instructions readable? Do they make sense? Is this a hassle? Once I install it, and I test it out, you push these 2 buttons and you pull. I love how it's one-handed. I typically like to just use it for a little while. I'll get the opinions of my husband and housemate as well, because they're like trying to use this thing, and I actually think that's a bit of a red herring for toddlers, so that they'll attempt to do this. This doesn't do anything. I find that hilarious. So once I am familiar with it and I have a sense for how I feel about it, I take note of anything that doesn't seem ideal. You see how there's this overhang right here? Now there's adhesive back there. It doesn't seem to affect the function of it. So far the adhesive is holding just fine, but I know that dirt is gonna get stuck there, and that's just gonna be annoying to me. So I take note of that and I mention that in my review. I try to think of what I would care about as a buyer. So if I was reading my own review as a buyer and I didn't have this yet, I would be wondering, well, how big is this gap here between the door of the fridge and the body of the fridge? because I'd want to measure my own gap and see, am I going to encounter this issue as well? Not only did I write in my review approximately the distance between these, but I also took a picture holding a measuring tape right here so that more visual viewers could just see, okay, there's the gap and there's that overhang. And some people might be fine with it, but my goal is to give people all of the relevant information. I also mentioned that there is a lip right here in the plastic of the door so that I do not anticipate the adhesive here failing when you open, because the ideal is to open with one hand here. And I'm pulling here. If it was just adhesive, I would expect that to fail pretty quickly. But because it has this little lip right here, then that helps save the adhesive from that strain. I also just love that I can literally just kick the door closed. That is really important to me. So this one obviously got 5 stars from me. I took several pictures to make sure people understood how it worked and how the install might be different for them based on the distance here. I just wanted to add in here real quick that someone else writing this exact same review might dock it a star because of that adhesive overhang. And that would be totally legit as well. The whole point of having multiple people reviewing the same product is that you get a variety of opinions. Try to tune in with how you genuinely feel about it and how you would feel if you paid full price for this, and just rate accordingly. It's supposed to be a subjective opinion, so that's okay, whichever direction you decide. For me, it was 5 stars because of how easy it is to use. I also wanted to give a quick note. When Amazon rejects a review, and this is regardless of whether you're a Vine member or not, the rejection doesn't tend to give a whole lot of detail as to why it's rejected. And that can sometimes be very frustrating when you don't know what you did wrong, and you also don't have a copy of your review. So I always recommend saving a copy of your review before you submit it. That way, if it does get rejected, you can just tweak a few things and try again. They do want you to resubmit it. That wasn't always the case in the past, but they do now, at least according to their current guidelines. People have really noticed that video reviews in particular tend to get rejected more often. It's kind of a catch-22 because Amazon is really pushing for video reviews. They want those video reviews, they are asking you to do it. However, when you do one and then it gets rejected, that's really frustrating. There are size limitations, and so it can be tricky to get under those limitations. It's understandable if you don't want to get into that, and you don't have to as a reviewer. The other thing that I felt was really important to mention is that as much fun as Vine definitely can be, it can also be a lot of work. This is not the place to be a perfectionist. I know that's kind of hard to hear if you're new to Vine, because when I first started out, I was like, I am Little Miss Ethical here. I am gonna be the person that never compromises. Every single review is gonna be the highest quality I can possibly give it, and I just went all out. And I think that is very, very sweet and very nice, and my family suffered for it, okay? It's just like any job where there is going to be a work-life balance. If you put out some reviews that are just one short paragraph, that's like 4 or 5 sentences that are very relevant to what a customer needs to know, that's okay. It's okay, it really is. There's a lot of reviews to write. At my most, I had 21 pages of reviews, so it was 210 approximately reviews to write. And that's when I got behind because I was ill. And I really had to decide if I had to choose between a review of an item suffering, that is just not being the best that it could be, the most effective at helping people. It didn't share 100% of all of the information that was on my mind about this product. So if I had to choose between compromising that or compromising quality family time, I'm gonna compromise the review because my family is more important. And I just think it's really important to keep that perspective, because unlike a typical job, there is no boss breathing down your neck. People aren't going to care. Be honest with your reviews, write your reviews, but if you can't manage to get a picture in this one, that's okay. If you can't test one out as much as you hoped to before your review is getting so old that it's starting to become irrelevant, it's okay to just post with the information that you have so far. That's my approach. Everyone has slightly different approaches, but it really helped me to hear more experienced Vine members saying, oh yeah, I only spend 5 to 10 minutes on each review because I'm too busy and that's all I can do. For me, seeing them say that that's okay really helped me relax and enjoy the process a whole lot more. So I hope that helps you. Happy vining!